Factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, Hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
From the Autotempest.com studios, all the cars, one search. This is the Under the Hood Show, 866-594-4150. What's caught your attention in the automotive world?
Well, yesterday, the Berkeley One Classics did a webinar that we checked out. We've been telling you about it for a couple weeks now. And they went over highlights of what the collector car industry is doing right now. And there was if you watched it through towards the end, you would see some of the American stuff, but a lot of it was focused on European cars and some really cool stuff. That they had a Bugatti in there, and I looked at it and I swore it was a 1994 like a Saturn. If you look at the front end, I'll show you the picture.
That's a rough. That might be more of a rough comparison than Chris's comparison.
I'm telling you, General Motors wheels.
Aztec to a what was it?
When you see this.
Vibe.
I'll bring it up at the next break, and you're going to say, oh, my gosh, that looks like a Saturn with the GM wheels and everything. It was crazy, but it was sold for like $7 million. But while
That'll never happen with a Saturn.
No.
I think that's about what Saturn was worth.
The whole company?
The whole
the
company,
end,
you bet. Maybe a loss of 7. So they were talking about, Joe, in general, of the whole market and how it went around. So the market's been trending up continuously. And then at the beginning of COVID, it kind of leveled off, and then, boom, now at the end, it's like a floodgate was open, and people are buying collector cars like crazy. So we, here at the show, dug into it a little bit and looked specifically at the cars our listeners are driving, the American muscle cars from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, Mustangs, Camaros, Firebirds, Bel Airs, all these cars that are right here, the Torinos and things like that. Those are also going up. We looked at the auctions, and I've looked at some of the sales prices that Vanderbrink has been selling for recently, and all her cars are steadily trending up. Shannon's cars are going up. My stuff is going up. So overall, it's a strong market. And Berkeley One Classics talked about differences in insurance, and I learned a couple things. I thought I knew everything. Alas.
I thought you thought you knew everything too.
Sorry, guys, disappointed. They added in pet coverage. If you get a pet that's injured while it's in one of your collector vehicles, and this happens more often than you think, or worse than injured, they have coverage that's included with that. And one thing I didn't realize, we talk about this agreed value thing all the time with collector car companies. There are some collector car companies that have they say, oh, you can drive wherever you want as long as it's to a parade or to a show. But if you deviate, like if you're going from Minneapolis to Omaha and you're going to a show and you deviate and stop off at a family member's that's off the route, or you stop into Starbucks for something and you're not...
Like literally into Starbucks?
Oh, you could do that. That happened around here recently, right through the front wall.
Yeah, that happened.
I thought you guys would catch that.
So you may not be covered. And I thought, that's just nuts. But Berkeley does it. But overall, collector cars, bottom line, they are an amazing way to get a family together. With so many kids now apart from the family, you see people on their phone texting. You don't see them outside. When I went back home to Texas, the neighborhood used to be full of kids playing football and street hockey, and I asked the neighbor, I said, Oh, it's a bummer. No kids in the neighborhood anymore. They're like, oh, you kidding me? There's 10 times as many as there used to be. I said, where are they? They're all in their houses individually on the phone talking to each other separately, not face to face. I'm like, well, get together, go to a car show, work on cars. My grandson is working with his dad all the time on an old Corvair. That's what they do. They spend that time together. They're not sitting there on the phone texting. So
That's awesome.
we thank Berkeley One Classics for putting this together, and we enjoyed it. We're going to be putting out some hoodie winners from that, the people that registered for that here pretty quick, too.
866-594-4150. Let's go to the phones and talk to Larry. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Larry, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I just had a question. I had I just recently bought a 2016 Dodge pickup, and was wondering about I don't know what kind of oil it's got in it or anything as far as being synthetic or not synthetic. And I've kind of heard a few things that they have been full synthetic or not supposed to go back to the other type. I was just wondering what kind of, I know nothing about the truck as far as to come off a lot, so.
Well, I want to get first from you just a little more info on the truck. It doesn't matter a lot, but I think just to connect to our hoodies, is this a gas-motored half-ton truck, or is it a diesel 3/4-ton, 1-ton? What do you got going on there? What'd you buy?
It's a Dodge Ram 1500, and it's got the 5.7 Hemi in it. And, yeah, that's the quad cab.
And you like it, apparently, because you fell in love with it and bought it.
Yeah, it's not too bad of a looking truck and stuff, and I thought, what the heck,
So I'm gonna
Time to
guess.
do it.
I'm gonna guess that it. I'm gonna guess. We'll see what the guys say here. I think I'm gonna guess you bought it, and it is silver in color. What do you think, Chris?
I'm going to say
Yeah,
maroon.
you got it.
Oh, silver.
Silver right out of the
off
bat.
Okay.
So I was thinking that charcoal gray, the darker silver, not
Sometimes,
the bright silver.
sometimes even, I get lucky.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. I was hoping for navy blue, but that didn't happen.
Well, and this, did you have a selection, or did you have to strike like a python when you saw it?
I just, my wife had seen it on the internet, so we slid over and took a look at it and decided to get it. So
All right.
Cool. Well, as far as oil goes, you always want to stick with what the manufacturer recommends or better. So if they say requires 5W30, 5W20, 0W20, whatever it is, synthetic engine oil, you need to
Okay.
stick with synthetic. If it says synthetic blend, you're fine using whatever you want as long as it meets or exceeds that. Now, we recommend if you buy a truck and it says, let's just say this one says 5W20, which is pretty common on a lot of the new vehicles, and it's not
Okay.
fully synthetic, we suggest that you run the first 10,000 miles without synthetic just to get it broken in very well, because sometimes the synthetic oils, our engine manufacturers tell us they don't want the synthetic in because they found they don't properly seat rings in the engine like
You're
they
talking about
should.
the beginning when it's a brand new engine
Brand
from the,
new.
Not
from the
Larry.
remanufacturer you're talking
right,
to.
right from the remanufacturer, right out of the factory. And then after that, run your regular oil. Now, some manufacturers, they give you an oil recommendation. They tell you the first oil change is due at about 10,000 miles. Sometimes that dash is programmed to turn on about then, certain amount of months, miles, timer in the computer, and they have put a different oil in it right from the factory, which is a break-in type oil. Not all of them do that. Some of them do, so you need to follow that. But if, as far as putting synthetic in it, if the truck's already got 10,000 miles on it, you shouldn't have any problem.
Well, there's
What-
nothing you can unwind and do different. So
We don't suggest switching to synthetic from a non-synthetic once the vehicle hits somewhere in that 90 to 100,000 miles, just because you can have some oil leaks because you've got some wear on seals and things from the non-synthetic oil over just time and miles, and it'll build up like a varnish in there. And when you use the synthetic, it's more uniform molecules, but
Slipperier.
they're smaller. Well, they're smaller, so they'll pour out through there. So bottom line is, if see what yours says. Get online and look what the factory recommendation is for that truck. And if it's a fully synthetic, don't use a conventional. Make sure you use a fully synthetic. And if it says synthetic blend or conventional, then you're welcome to use something better in it.
Larry, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. From the Autotempest.com studios, all the cars, one search. This is the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to another Larry now. Larry, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey guys, I've got a 2018 F-150 and it's silver. It's got the 5-liter Hoodie engine in it, and I've had it in twice before, and they say that the noise that I'm hearing is nothing to worry about. It almost, if you stick your head down in the right side of the wheel well and listen to the bottom of the engine, it almost sounds like a knock. It's not quiet at all. Sometimes you'd swear that I got a diesel. Any ideas on what that might be?
Just on one side?
On the right side?
Mm.
It's like Russ said. It's you don't hear it from both banks if you kind of listen in the same place.
Just on the right side is where you can hear it the loudest, but you can hear it just standing, outside of the truck anywhere.
How many miles are on the truck?
40,000.
Pretty low. And
Yep.
I guess one of the things that we tell people a lot of times when they're wondering about if this is normal, it's harder to do now, but find another one that's the same and roll it over there and listen and see if it's the same. That's something that we often talk about when somebody says, well, that's normal. Then that
Prove
should be in a number of them.
Right.
Yeah, we've had a number of these in the shop. Working on them, I don't recall any noise out of these things at all. That was abnormal. That I would consider abnormal because we listen to them very closely when we put an engine in. We want to make sure there's nothing. That's
You'll get some injector noise, and you get some. There's always a little bit of a mechanical noise, just a little bit at idle. You're going to pick up on a lot of engines, especially the V8s with the overhead valves and everything.
And the purge valve, and they're going
Overhead
tick, tick,
cams.
tick, 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 tick. That's normal, but that's different. That's not going to vary with engine speed. If it varies with engine speed, make sure the air conditioning is turned off when you're listening for this, because those compressors can make a little bit of noise too. I'd look at exhaust leaks, see if there's any exhaust leak going on.
That can
over there.
commonly be misconstrued as an engine noise.
And that'll change with engine RPM. And then after that, if I still thought I had a noise, I would be disabling cylinders one at a time down that passenger side to see if the noise changes. That's a dead giveaway. If you pull off one of the spark plugs and it stops making that noise, you've got a problem in that cylinder. You've got a wrist pin or something that's getting bad, or a piston that's moving around, slapping in there, something like that. But it could be, like Shannon said, it could be normal for that engine. I'm not hearing it, so what I think is no noise may be noisier.
Well,
I know what you mean.
as we've sold remanufactured engines and used engines and things for the years, that's always a question is you got something that works, runs, operates, does everything it's supposed to do, and then all of a sudden you get some person that walks by and they say, that's got a noise in it. And the other person that's been doing it for a while looks by and says, it's not a noise. That seems pretty normal to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes a debate sometimes. And I know I had that with a truck of mine once on the front differential where I had a noise. And I swore that I'd get into four-wheel drive, and I had a noise, and then there'd be some guys who would get in and say, "No, that's not a noise. That's pretty
I
normal."
wrote in it, and I said, I don't hear anything. You're
Yeah,
like,
it's
"No,
pretty normal."
It does it sometimes.
Yeah, and so it is a very subjective thing, and so I definitely would be doing some comparisons, and I think Russ just gave a great idea there. I like when we check something here for noise. One of the things that we do is make sure we disable you got to do it quick, but we disabled all the belt-driven accessories. Just to eliminate that extra noise, and then you can, for a little bit, you can just listen to the engine without. You're not going to get it hot if you just do it for 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30 seconds to a minute, you're fine with doing that with the belt off of it.
And is it as simple as just pulling off the spark plugs one at a time?
Disabling them. Now, certain vehicles you cannot pull those things loose because it'll harm the computer. This one you could unplug the coil.
Okay.
You
That
just-
help?
On the
just
18, you can?
Yeah, this one you should be able to. We
just
do it.
unplug the power to the coil.
Yep.
Yep.
We do that. It'll set a circuit code and turn the check engine light on. But there are some older ones, and especially the Chryslers, they don't like it. You pull one of those off, it doesn't know what's going on, and it can harm the computer.
Does that give you some ideas there, Larry?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks
Thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. And that's really all you want. You just want Russ to come over and go, yeah, it's normal. It's fine. Don't
There you
worry
go.
about it.
There you
That's
go.
it. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Chris. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Chris, what can we do for you?
Well, good morning, gentlemen. And I guess in the spirit of maybe some debate, looking at purchasing a 2010 to 2015 like Camaro, Challenger, or Mustang, wondering what your opinions would be of the three, and if there's one that you might recommend more so than the other.
Oh, you're trying to get us
I'll
in
hang
trouble.
up and let you.
You're trying to get us in trouble. But no, before you hang up, before
Yeah,
you
yeah,
let a
yeah.
bomb in the room and leave, I'm not letting you off that easy. Which one did you like when you were younger?
I typically like the Camaro.
You won't be disappointed. Okay, but I guess because to me that's a lot of this difference. Is what your heritage as a person is.
I liked the Camaros and the Mustangs and the Challenger when I was younger. I had all three. And now I've been driving this 2013 Camaro for 5 years
Is
now.
that long already?
I think so, 2017.
Jeez. Next
So-
thing we know, we're going to be trying to figure out how to blow that one up.
No, I hope not. It's only got 60,000 miles on it. But, I really like it. But if you said I had no choice, I had to switch out for a Mustang today, I'd be okay. Or a Challenger. I think they're all equally very good cars. We replace very few engines in any of those in our shop. We just don't have a lot of issues with them. They work really well. They're all well built. They're all going to be priced about the same. I get on Autotempest.com, our studio sponsor, often, and I sat down on Monday this week and specifically spent time looking at cars. I was trying to get collector car prices and things in the market, and also general cars. So on Autotempest.com, I've been typing in over the last couple months prices of like Malibus and Impalas and Honda Accords, things, Hyundai Sonata, all these things that would be general cars. And I see one thing, the market is starting to level off. It's not continually going up like it was, and there's a few more of them out there, which is great. So I would say as a source for these cars, go to Autotempest.com, look at the prices that they're selling for and the mileage. They're all fairly comparable, but it'll give you some ideas about what they're going for in the market. And budget may set your price, because you may see a Mustang on there that's really cool, a special edition or something, and it's priced a little more, or you might see something and higher miles. You might see a Camaro that's a V8 but a little less trim, that's got way less miles, and you may choose that car over there. So a lot of it has to do with miles and what's on the car. When you're buying one of these, though, you got to be real careful about who owned it before. You really got to watch, because we
If
see
you can
cars,
find that out.
yeah. And look at never buy a sports car sight unseen, because some of them get beat. We've got one sitting in we've got a SRT8 sitting in our parking lot
I thought
right
he was
now.
pointing at me. He
No.
was pointing
he
behind
was pointing
me.
towards the shop, and you
Yeah.
happened to be in the way.
I thought he was just pointing
That-
straight at
You're
me.
just self-conscious, Chris.
That car is beat. It has been beat. We know who's owned it. We know what it's been through. Other than the original owner, which we also knew, who was in his 90s, that car has not had a good life. So if it was prettied up a little bit, it probably could be sold as it's a cream puff, a little bit of body work. So you want to be careful. Look at your places you can go, like Carfax and things, and see what the history has been on whatever car you choose. But overall, we really like all those cars.
What one last question to kind of help me give you what I think would be my guide to this. You talked about heritage, but you just going to drive it, or are you going to maybe occasionally want to go to the drag strip or go to the autocross if they have that in your area or anything like that also?
No, it's just pretty much that weekend car, to take on a trip, or let, one of your children, drive here or there from time to time. Something that's, kind of fun and sporty.
Yeah, I think Russ hit it on the head. Because if you were going to say that I was going to be tracking in the car every once in a while, like at an autocross event, the Mustang and the Camaro would be better for that than the Challenger. If you want just a brute horsepower car, I mean, it's hard to beat a Challenger with a V8. I mean, they're they're fun. I mean, that's a heavier car. It doesn't handle quite as well, but they all have that classic look. And so it does come down to heritage of what you think you like and what values might be out there in this market to actually try to buy something, and the history that you can find on a car. If you're buying that from, hey, this was my wife's car and she left it in the garage and drove it on Sundays, that's a pretty good deal. But if it's a 30-something that was his first car out of just his first job, and you never know what you're going to get. So that's it. All matters.
Chris, thanks very much for the call. Good luck and have fun.
Yeah.
That's a fun market to be in. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturdivant's.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. 50 from the Autotempest.com studios. All the cars, one search. This is the Under the Hood Show. If you follow us on Facebook, you could, if you join the Hoodie fan club at underthehoodshow.com, come home someday and find a hoodie waiting in your mailbox.
You could, like Jeremy Owens, who's going to find one waiting in his mailbox in Bardstown, Kentucky. Congratulations from all of us here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu. UTI.edu, Universal Technical Institute, trains technicians, the future technicians, the ones that are maybe technicians.
Technicians would be in Czechoslovakia.
No, technicians.
Technician.
They're on a trek to become better.
Or do you work on a bicycle, a Trek bicycle, a technician?
They don't do bicycle
Spaceships?
training.
Star
They
technician?
don't do that yet, but eventually they might. I mean, they might have to convert
Look at
over.
that.
But right now, you can get trained and be a tech. There's a lot of people out there. I've talked to some people that said, "Hey, I heard that on your show. I decided to go there. Now I'm a tech." I'm like, "Okay, give us a call."
I
Let us know
just
these
saw in
things.
one of my industry emails, I'm not good about reading the whole thing, but I see the headlines. I see they recently added BMW, something with BMW to UTI. It was just recently added. So
There's a lot of specialized training that goes on with the different manufacturers, and I guess the bottom line of that point is they have that specialized training from certain manufacturers because they work right with the manufacturers.
so if there's a manufacturer who says, all right, we're going to work on this vein of our training, they'll get the curriculum to them and show them what they need to do, and then that's where they point people to get that particular training. So uti.edu, place to go.
866-594-4150. We have a question that came in on Facebook. I accidentally put 3 gallons of E85 in my tank Friday. When I figured it out, I stopped and topped off the tank with 5 gallons of regular gasoline. It's a 2021 Toyota Tacoma with a 2.7. Are there any problems for me in the future?
No,
No, fine, right?
ethanol's not going to harm your car.
I do kind of wonder if that question is actually this in disguise.
Can I put 3 gallons in my tank because it's 80 cents cheaper?
Don't you think
Yeah.
maybe that was the way to ask that question?
Maybe, yeah.
So all modern cars run. They've got. Let's just go back to 2021. Even before that, but 2021 and up, they all have fuel injectors. They have closed loop fuel systems with O2 sensors, usually multiples. Some of them have 4. Some
You're saying
5.
2021.
Yeah, we're just going 2021.
Okay,
and
so
newer.
that's brand new. I mean, that's a year
I'm
old.
sorry.
20. Right.
Start over again.
Yes,
Give me the
okay.
2001. Take a 2 off of there.
There
So
we
let's go back.
Okay.
Chris, I'm glad you're here to straighten us out.
Well, that's good though, because we would have ruled out 3/4 to 90% of our listening audience on the scenario.
And now we encompass 99% of our listeners. Most people are driving.
Cars that are 11 years or newer,
2001.
12 years or newer is the national average, somewhere in that range.
So your car is able to adjust for fuel trims. It does that when you have a little vacuum leak, if it's not tuned up right, it's running rich, depending on what kind of gasoline you put in it. Sometimes it's not quite as good, and your air filter's dirty. It's going to change. So it has the ability to adjust. Alcohol burns leaner. It's got a different, it's the stoichiometric ratio, where it gets the best combustion. But that you can have that for cooking on your stove at home too. It just means where it's at. To get the same amount of energy out of a gallon of alcohol compared to gasoline, you need a little more of it because it's a little bit leaner. So what they do is the oxygen sensor says, hey, it's running a little leaner. Let's dump a little more in. That's how the flex fuel cars work, people. It's like, well, how does that work? That's how
But they
works.
give it a wider parameter range to work within.
Yeah, and they say, okay, when that does it, let's adjust the timing a little bit and get this car to get the best fuel mileage possible. And we find that up to 30% is the optimal blend. Over that, you start losing a little bit of mileage. But for us, my gosh, I look at the cost and I say that's pretty good. They have approved in 2001 up using E15. That's government approved, but I can tell you for a fact, I have a lot of people I know that use a little more than that. Here's what's going to happen if you put too much. This vehicle specifically,
If you
put
filled
too
it
much
with
in
the
it.
85.
Yeah.
If you put in 10 gallons or 15 gallons.
And we've had a few people lately do this. They're like, oh,
Don't do that, though,
I
by
filled
the
up
way.
my car
Right,
all the
do
way
not.
because I just picked up the one my kid filled it. I'm like, sure they did. Yeah, that's what he did.
That was another one of those questions.
Yeah, it was empty. They filled it completely up, and they said, Well, my check engine light's on, but it seems to be running fine. I'm like, no, you filled up with the 85, your check engine light came on. I said, do you know if it's a flex fuel? No. How do you know if it's a flex fuel? Here's what you do. You can go online to any one of probably 1,000 VIN decoders. You type in your VIN. It tells you stuff about your car, like the engine size, and if it's a flex fuel or not. And if you've got a green cap and it says E85 on the
Yellow on some.
on the door, when you open it, it's a flex fuel. Or if you get a sticker on your window or the back of the car, most people don't just stick those on there, so it's probably a flex fuel. Then it should run fine. If
That'd be the worst practical joke.
yeah, but Chris.
I know, right?
Do you like
go around putting them on the inside
Bad.
of tanks? And
So you just filled up your car with 85, your element, which is not flex fuel. Your kid took it; it was empty, filled it completely up because he said, "Well, Dad, it was the cheapest. Check engine light came on, but it's running good. What do you do?" Well, you're not going to damage anything in a few miles. Drive that thing. The E85 is going to burn a little quicker. It's going to get down to probably 3/4 of a tank. Then go put 5 gallons of regular fuel in it. The light will go back off. It'll run just fine.
So this
That's
3
just the way it
gallons
is.
in
No.
the tank is not
He-
going to...
Insignificant in the grand scheme of things for
It's just going to make his E10, now it's going to be
What did it do?
E18 maybe. If
Yeah, it just made his fuel cheaper, is what it did.
Yeah.
This tank, and we've had customers blending their own special mix for years. But in my cars, we're not going to recommend to you that you go out and put E30 in your car if it's not a flex fuel. But do we do it in our own cars? Yes,
we got a
do.
couple of vehicles that are higher octane, they're premium requirements,
And they
we
just-
want that octane.
Yeah. So in my 2021 vehicle, I drive that, and I put premium in it. I took a trip we put 4,000 miles on it this last
That
Christmas.
was a long one.
And
Good testing.
looking at the scanner. So here I'm driving it along. I fill it up with premium in South Dakota. My scanner says fuel volatility on my scanner says low, which means it's not as high a octane as it's claiming to be, and it's not that good a fuel. Drive across state lines. I'm at a station. Here's an E30 pump. I fill it up with E30, and it's not a flex fuel car. I'm driving along. Fuel volatility, high. Great. I'm getting what I'm supposed to, and I'm getting better mileage because it can operate like it's supposed to because the computer's in high performance mode. It's not in the less,
Low
knock
volatility
it,
fuel.
cut it down.
I bet you got a lot of practice putting gas in that thing over 4,000 miles.
I spent a lot of money on fuel. At least it was a little cheaper back then, but now it'd be like it had to be a 2,000-mile trip. But I filled up with premium in another state at a pump. Now, this pump said 92 octane instead of 91 like we had around here. Then it said high volatility on the fuel there. So there are some premiums that get up there, but here's the difference. I paid $3.99 for that 92 octane premium, and I think I was paying $3.69 for the 91 octane premium at that time. But the E30 I bought was $2.65 in the same state. So I got better mileage and I used that. But overall, yeah, you're not gonna hurt that vehicle.
You sound like a guy talking about getting a loaf of bread for a nickel now.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're talking about the
Sound like an old guy.
1930s.
But this question is going to come up a lot, and people are going to keep asking it. They've been calling our shop asking, how do I find out if I've got a flex fuel car? What happens if I put too much in? And the bottom line of it all is I can tell you we've been up there. I've been in that shop on my 26th year now, and I have never, out of the thousands of cars that we've had come through there, ever had one that was damaged because it had ethanol in it. And if you've got one and you say, well, I got a buddy, his was, did you see it? Were you driving it? Do you know? Because there's a lot of people that hear stuff. Ask a shop that actually works on them, not just somebody that says, well, I heard. Because I used to think, scary things when I first moved here because we didn't have any kind of blends in our own state.
And now in
like,
legislature
oh, no.
and Congress, they're talking about going to year-round E15
Well,
again.
it was year-round E15.
It was there. They took it away.
Yeah.
It
The
came
new
back.
administration made a change.
And there are a few states now, quite a few of them actually, that are pushing. They keep moving it up. It was 15. Now they want to certify for 20. And there are some that are pushing 30.
We could increase the blending of homegrown biofuels and eliminate the amount we just embargoed or we banned from Russia.
Yep.
easily.
Yeah.
I think we'll be finding a lot of people who try ethanol over the next
And
few
Chris,
weeks and months
why
that
do they
wouldn't have.
why do they try it? Because they look at the pump and it goes ding 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 when they're filling it instead of click click click, and that
Yeah.
that has been exactly why people have called us. They say they start off with, "It's more money now. Can I?"
Right.
Oh, so you're willing now? I'm willing to try some things when they're expensive. I'm like, "Oof, I'll try the. Let me try the cheaper motel. I'll never do that again."
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Dan in Tennessee. Dan, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Hey, morning, gentlemen. Just a brief side note before I tell you why I called. You talking about fuel. My diesel pickup truck is older, and I was staying out of state for a while once, and the colors of the pumps were different.
Oh.
And it was morning. I hadn't had coffee yet. I put 5 gallons of gasoline in my diesel truck, so I had dual tank. So I said, well, I know what I'm doing today. I guess I wanted to flush that tank out anyway, so I dropped the tank and cleaned it. Got some dirt out there. Anyhow,
There is pump there. Just before you move on, there is pump confusion sometimes
Yes.
with those, the green
Colors.
handles
Green,
on there.
yellow.
So you really got to pay attention.
Yeah, double check yourself because you can screw up in a
Because
heartbeat.
the diesel nozzle won't fit in the gas, but the gas nozzle will fit in the diesel.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little wobbly, but it'll fit. Guaranteed.
Go ahead, Dan.
Anyhow, I just wanted to call with an attaboy for you guys. Just your show and 4 rooms and things like that. I'm older and disabled. I tore all the tendons out of my shoulders. So I had a bunch of surgeries, arthritis, all that stuff, plus my spine and things. I can't do that much anymore, but I wrenched for a long time during my life. And I can kind of bench race listening to you all, getting into 4 rooms and things. I can still kind of scratch my head a little bit and keep thinking, even though I can't do that much anymore. So it kind of keeps me going, and I appreciate it. I moved down here because it's warmer. I got steel in my body and stuff. I couldn't take the up north temperatures anymore and get back my southern roots anyhow. But I knew some shops up there, and I'd go in with the guys and stuff. I don't really know anybody here, so those shops, I go in and kind of breathe it in and talk shop more. So it's nice to have it. I do a little bit, but not much anymore. I'm frustrated. I had for instance, last year I had to do a head gas on my daughter's PT Cruiser. Got the twin cams and stuff. That's a day's job. Maybe you finish up the next day. Seriously, I loaned her a car, and it took me over a month. I'd go out there every day and peg on it because my arms get where I can't. My hands, I can't even hold a wrench or start a nut on a bolt or anything.
That's too bad.
Work about 15 minutes and take an hour or two break. Sometimes I'm done for the day. But be careful when you're wrenching how carried away you get. Definitely take your breaks. Let your body relax a little bit. Those are important, and I usually work through my breaks and work late and didn't stop, so I'm paying for it now. But anyhow, I appreciate you guys doing a radio show with the 4 rooms and everything. I'm sure I'm not the only one in this kind of shape. It keeps some of us older, tore-up guys bench racing still. And
Thanks, Dan.
Dan, thanks very much for the call. That's really nice to hear from you.
That's good. We're glad we can be part of your after mechanic life.
Mm-hmm. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
866-594-4150 from the Autotempest.com studios. All the cars, one search. This is the Under the Hood Show. All right, let's go to Colorado and talk to Walt. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Walt, what can we do for you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, welcome to the Under the Hood Show.
Thank you. My wife came across a 2016 Toyota 4Runner, and I can tell the spark plugs have never been changed because I pulled just one. Do you suggest at the same time to replace the coils, or I've heard you say yes on some things and no, not necessarily on others, so I thought I would clarify before I dug into this.
First, can I just jump in here, Russ? The 14, where the heck did you find a 16 4Runner for sale? That is a very hard to find used vehicle right now.
And especially at the price. It was a neighbor up here, Falcon, Colorado. It's hard to believe.
I was just out in Denver recently, and it was kind of crazy how, compared to where we live and where I've visited before, the per capita amount of Toyota 4Runners I saw running around in Denver was much higher than I'm used to in our area. It's a very popular vehicle, and we sell a lot of 4Runner parts that go that direction also.
I thought maybe he was going to say, well, I listened to you guys say Autotempest.com, and I went there and I got one. I was like, you're going to win a hoodie.
Well, as a matter of fact, I did get on there just to get some ideas about how much money this was going to cost and stuff. But this thing has been very well cared for, and just couldn't pass it up.
How many miles are on it?
113,000.
That's still great. Yep. That's like brand new in today's market. We do not replace nearly as many coils on Toyota products as we do on many others. They hold up pretty well. We do some Honda ones, not a whole lot of them, but we do enough of them. Our partner at Motorrad makes a lot of coils for a lot of vehicles, and I can kind of get a general idea by what they're selling as to how many are failing, because they only produce the ones for the cars that are going to fail. I mean, that's why they make them, and they've got some really good ones. This one here, I would say, look at the coil boot on them. They're down in the end. Make sure they're not burned. They're in good shape when you take them apart. You can replace just the tip of them that comes off on those because it's not a complete one like on a lot of coils. And that may be why they hold up longer as well. Because once that coil boot breaks down and that coil starts getting beat up by grounding out too quick without going through that spark plug, it'll kill it. So if it runs good now, that one's not awful to change the coils on, if I remember. Trying to picture that engine, I would say spark plugs are probably going to be fine for that. But make sure when you pull those coils out of the cylinders that you look down there with a flashlight. If you can, get compressed air and blow in there to blow those holes out before you pull the spark plug out.
Take no risk of getting any sediment or little things that have settled in there down into that cylinder.
Sometimes rocks or those little white pebbles are almost clear when they're contrasted off.
Put on your safety glasses and blow some air down in there and just make sure.
Yeah, if you don't have any shop air at home, even that computer stuff you use to blow off your keyboard with, it'll get stuff moving around in there.
Okay. Because none of my vacuums are good enough to suck into that hole. I mean, I always want them to be. I'd like to think that like there's some of those car wash vacuums if you had one of them, but nobody seems
Sometimes
to have one of them.
our hack is I don't think we've ever said our hack on the show, but what we'll do is we'll take a piece of heater hose and we'll duct tape it to the end of the hose, the shop vac, and then we'll tape a smaller hose inside of that one, and then a smaller hose, and now we've got like a 1/4-inch vacuum to stick down in the hole, and it'll pull anything out of there.
Ah, interesting.
You got a 5-horsepower vacuum, and down, right out of there. Suck that spark plug right out of the hole.
So on his spark plugs, would you inspect, and if they look good, leave them, or if at 113,000, if you're that far along, would you put them in anyway, Russ?
I put plugs in it.
Okay.
If I'm taking them out, I'm putting them in. It's time.
Does that help you out there, Walt?
I think. Yes, absolutely. Could I ask one more question?
Most definitely.
Nope.
On a
Yes.
2000
Chris
2-1.
is the guy that says no.
Ford. We have mixed reviews here.
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Walt.
You also, one of you people is famous, or you've been on national television before, or maybe you all have, but I've only seen one of you on national television. Can you guess which one it is?
It's Chris.
Oh,
It's Chris.
Nope.
got to be Shannon.
No.
Oh, then it's
Mr.
Russ.
Nordstrom. Yes.
Oh.
No,
Oh,
that
that
was
one.
cool. That was some reruns of diners, drive-ins, and dives.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was Shannon's.
I was on. My wife and I were
little
asked to be
eatery
at
there.
the filming for that. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I
So
could tell you were just all the rest of us, you know.
oh, we were
When
having
your
fun.
elbow bends, your mouth.
Oh boy. All right. Let's talk about this other question because I'm feeling embarrassed.
On a 2017 F250 with the diesel, I've got some eye problems and I can't drive it for probably another month. I should probably put some kind of a battery maintainer on there, shouldn't I?
Yes. Anytime you're going to let any vehicle sit for more than usually more than a week, especially if it's very cold. In the summertime, warmer, a couple weeks is fine usually, but when it gets colder, we suggest putting that battery maintainer on there. You don't want it to run dead because if it runs dead, you can get all sorts of. I mean, it's just a pain, right, Chris? You've experienced this.
Yeah,
It's like it's a nice day. I want to drive my car. Can't. It's dead. But reprogramming the radio and all that kind of stuff can be a pain on vehicles too now. So yeah, we definitely suggest one. You can get them as low as like $20 at a lot of places.
Probably going to take 3 or 4 amps to keep up, isn't it?
It depends. No,
I'm looking at rate.
Not for
You know,
maintaining.
what
No.
rate
No.
would I look for?
No, when it's charging, I mean, you're fine when it's already fully charged. To charge it, yes, you will need about 4 amps. But I'd say one that'll maintain.
But even
at
if you
least
don't,
2.
if you were charging it and you don't care if it charges today,
Yeah,
a smaller
2 amp.
Yeah.
I'd go with it. Like a 2 amp maintainer.
A lot
Or
of mine are 1.5 on my vehicles
yep.
and 1 amp on my, motorcycles, lawnmower. I think I got a couple of those that might even be 0.75 on some of those littler ones. But the 1.
Well, I can tell you, I got a 1, I got a 1.5, and now I have a brand new 2. And they all, if you hook them up correctly.
Yeah, and just if the battery's in a full state of charge and you put it
Chris,
on,
if you hook them up correctly,
it is maintaining. That's what it's doing. And so you shouldn't have more than a millivolts draw when the
Better
vehicle's
not.
sitting there
more than
idle.
200 millivolts.
And so those charges will will keep up with that if you put it on there right away.
Walt, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Yeah, the battery maintaining, how you said about a week is how long you're thinking about in the winter?
Yes.
Anything over that, you want to have something on it?
Yeah, I'm more daring than that.
Yeah. And I can say this from experience: if it goes dead, there's no maintaining, there's no bringing it back. If it goes all the way
Nope.
down, you're just kind of.
If it's 0 volts for a number of days and frozen, it's just done.
866-594-4150. What's caught your attention? We got 30 seconds.
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on right now with people trying to get better fuel economy. We don't need to give you the news. You're probably listening on a day. You don't want to hear about all the bad stuff. So let's talk about good stuff. Don't be fooled by the tricks. Pills that go in your gas tank. Things to create hydrogen gas to make your car run better.
Magnets.
It's all magnets. It's all bunk. I would say bunk. It's no good. It won't work. We're gonna expose a lot of that. We'll put the stuff on YouTube and show you what doesn't work. But folks, the only thing that's going to get you to get better fuel mileage, the first thing you can do is just drive like you want better fuel mileage. Pretend you put something in your gas tank that's amazing and you want it to get better mileage and drive like that. Because what do you mean, Chris? Well, that means just drive gingerly.
Coast. Do
Coast
more
a lot.
coasting.
Go slower.
Get somebody to push you.
That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. Hour 2's coming up.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
From the Autotempest.com studios, all the cars, one search. This is the Under the Hood Show. There's some good life advice in that opening. Always check with your certified technician. Just do that on everything, and everything will be better. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Welcome to Under the Hood. Thanks for joining us.
You're certified.
Yep. Certifiable.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, Hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so I can help you tune up. Or we can help you tune up.
You're certified.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
I'm
a little
Chris
bit.
Carter here to take your calls at 866-594-4150. I am not certified
Don't you have that FCC license?
in
thing?
anything. No, they don't do that anymore.
You used to, right?
Yeah. So
You have
Brown
no
Institute?
certifications in anything?
this is a good example of why you should go with a certified technician. You're certified in something. You're certified in something. I'm certified in nothing, and I would say the advice you would get from the three of us reflects that.
I'm just a little let down right now because you've given me advice on a lot of things that I assumed you were certified in.
It's stupid. Don't take my advice.
Really?
Yeah. heck
So
yeah.
so you're not certified in anything?
I don't think I am.
Didn't
Currently.
you go to Brown Institute?
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
I've
Did
heard of that. I
you-
don't even know what they do.
CPR?
Not. I can do it. Maybe. I mean, I'd try it. What do I have to lose?
What do you have to lose?
Well, I mean, if you go down, I could stand there and say I don't know it, or I could try it. I might as well, right?
I've seen somebody do it before.
Yeah, I've seen. Yeah, I would try it. I got stay alive, stay alive. I know.
See, you know
it's
plenty.
fine. All right,
So you're not certified at anything.
I don't think so.
Think about it.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Mike. Mike has been waiting. He had to wait this whole time. Mike, you're on the Under the Hood Show, and we apologize. Go ahead.
Hey, no worries. Top of the morning to you guys. How you doing?
Good.
Great, Mike.
Good. Say, ironically, as I was on hold, I was witness to an auto accident here on Russell and Kiwanis,
Oh, jeez.
Sioux Falls here. So
Oh, my.
I'd call the proper authorities, but it looks like I was on hold with you guys. So
Oh, no.
Well, we could just
But
put out
looks
a
like everybody's
PSA.
safe here, so. Yeah.
Yeah, if any authorities are
Yeah,
listening.
this is live in our local market. So if you're at what's the
Men
location?
and women blue. Kiwanis and Russell here. So
Okay,
there's no
somebody else
concern.
can call it in for you.
I'm sure they
Yeah,
have.
absolutely.
Don't-
Everyone's safe.
T Storm Chasers is already on it.
Oh, I got a friend that works at the communications, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's like an accident. We get like 80 calls." I'm like, "What do you do?" He goes, "Well, we just want to hang up on them after the first."
They're going to say, why do we get
Two.
500 calls for this accident?
It's like once the first two or three line up pretty much the same, they're like, "Oh yeah, thank you, we got it, thank you."
I have the greatest respect for the people in those communication centers, the beating they must take
Oh,
on
yeah.
a daily basis.
Well, the calls, man, I'm like, so what kind of calls do you get? My cat's stuck in a tree. You have to come get the cat.
There's a
out.
squirrel on my roof.
Yeah, stuff like that happens. Of course, they do have the definite danger ones, that
sure.
real things, but the crazy ones, which they get plenty of, there's
Which, as far as I'm concerned, would be worse. If you called me, I hope there's a squirrel on your roof and not that your leg bone is sticking out.
yes.
You know? Anyway, Mike, what can we do for you?
Yep. Hey, don't forget about those tow operators. One of them's going to need a tow for sure.
oh, yeah, they got a big
Yeah,
role they play to get
Get
things
them an
cleaned up.
early
And
warning.
out of the
You
way.
bet. Yep. So, hey, you're a big fan. Tune in every Tuesday here while I'm driving around Sioux Falls. And who's the guy in the Camaro?
That's
Let's
Russ.
see. Okay. I always try to wave really big, but he never waves back.
I probably don't see her. I'm
You
just really
can't-
grumpy. Yeah,
You
no,
can't see out of those Camaros.
I only wave at people that I mean, if I see them, waving, I'll wave back. But that's cool. I get a lot of
Well, I
people
wave
pull up.
really big.
I think I think a challenge has just been laid down.
Well, I'll be looking a little closer for that Jeep.
Well, you could ask my
No,
wife.
well-
If you see me, I don't drive the Camaro, but I would wave at you in the dark.
Oh, yeah.
She says, "Why are you waving at them? They don't. It's dark. They can't see you." I'm always waving, and she's like, "I go out of my way to wave even when we're having a conversation." She goes, "You interrupted our conversation to wave." I'm sorry, that's kind of the way I'm wired.
I'll try honking next time.
There you go.
Just hit him. No,
Yeah.
Pit maneuver him.
no,
Well, he's got a better
please
mechanic
don't.
than I, probably. Anyway, yeah, I have Jeep Cherokee Laredo. It's straight 6 things a piece. Got about 275,000 miles on it now. I put in an ECM and fan blower motor, and that's about it, other than tires, plugs, and oil. Right now, though, it's giving me a little grief. I've got when I come up to stoplight or any rest where it just idles with the brake on, the oil pressure will start going all the way down to high, or up to high, and then down to low, then back up to high, and then it will start stalling on me. But it only does it when I'm sitting still with the brake, or with my foot on the brake here. So if I have it in park and it's idling, it's fine. But outside of that, it stalls on me here. Changed the oil, didn't do any good. Still does the problem. Kind of curious you guys' thoughts on this here.
It doesn't stall. It's just the gauge, right? The engine's running fine?
No, it stalls. The engine stalls. It goes down and it starts stalling.
Okay.
But,
But only in drive with your foot on the brake.
yes, sir. Yes,
Not
sir.
in park with
So
your
if
foot
I
on the
have it
brake.
in park, not in park, it's fine. And it only seems to do it after it's warmed up.
Well, it does have it's got an idle air control motor on there that controls that. Yeah, that could have an issue. Could be just as simple as the throttle body on it getting gummed up.
What's going on with his oil going high and then?
Well, it'll go up and down, with the engine RPM. If it drops down, it's going to go way down, and then as it revs up, it's going to come up. So that could be completely
Would you say that the
separate.
oil pressure is moving more erratically than the RPMs of the engine?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
The RPMs of the engine will be under 1.
So it
and
gets
then
down to like
drop
700,
down.
700
I can see
800
it drop it
RPMs?
down. No. It'll be at an idle, and it will start to stall. You can feel it stalling and watch the gauge go up and down on the oil pressure. But only, like I said, only when I'm at at a light or with the foot on the brake.
Do you ever get a
So
red
if
oil
I
warning
put it-
light?
Yes. Check engine light does come on.
No. Do you
Once
ever
it
get
goes back.
Do you ever get a red oil warning light?
I don't get that warning. Just the check engine.
Because I was trying to zero
So
in
anyway.
if you're actually having an oil pressure issue, and his thoughts are right on the money too. As far as this thing just erratically idling enough that it's causing that movement because of it,
Mm-hmm.
a loping idle of some sort. That's what we're trying to determine.
Yeah, in fact, my way around it right now is if I'm on a stoplight, I'll put it in park and then it would run just fine. But as soon as I put it in drive, put on the brake there and it idles, it starts doing this.
Well, one of the first things that I'm going to do to that, I'm going to try to see if we've got an idle issue going. Can you step on the gas just a little bit while you're sitting there with the brake? Will that fix it?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Then
Sure
I
does.
would
Yep.
I would look at the throttle body closely, get some Berryman B12 chem tool, spray on that throttle body to clean it, get it good and clean, run the engine a little bit. Then we would suggest on this vehicle, disconnect the battery for about 15 minutes to clear all the memory out of it, hook it back up, and then start it up, let it sit there and idle in park until it's warm, then put it in drive and let it sit there and idle, and hopefully that'll fix your idle. It may just be that it's gummed up because you told me it had over 200,000 miles on it, so it's very possible that throttle body is just gummed up, and that Berryman B12 will clean that throttle blade really well and fix that issue if it's just a varnish issue in there.
And I'm just going to throw this out there, not to be the mean guy, but don't ever underestimate the fact that with 275,000 miles, you could be getting enough mechanical breakdown in the engine that it is just hard for it to maintain idle with it in drive, because that puts extra load on the engine. You've got more force against it. In park, things freewheel just a little bit better than they do in drive. And when an engine starts getting weak, and when you get if the miles have caught up with it, and you have cylinders that aren't even enough, the compression's off between one or the other quite a bit, it's hard for that engine to idle, and it can just suddenly show up that way. So do the things to check it, and like Russ is saying, this is easy, affordable stuff. But before you go any further, you might want to do a leak down on those 6 cylinders and see how the mechanical shape of the engine is.
Mike, thanks very much for the call. Good luck.
I'm waving at you on YouTube right now, Mike. You can go back and watch this broadcast later.
We got to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150 from the Autotempest.com studios. All the cars, one search. This is the Under the Hood Show. Now let's head over to Wisconsin and talk to Brad. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Brad, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
It's great. How you doing?
Well, I'm confused.
You're calling us?
I got an 08 Tundra, and the rear passenger wheel bearing went out on it. And so I pulled the axle shaft and had a new bearing pressed on. I broke the wheel speed sensor when I was trying to take it out. And I put a new one in, put it all back together. The grinding noise is gone, but now my parking brake light is on and my VSC light is flashing at me and I've got no brakes. I checked and I bled and flushed my brake lines, made sure I didn't somehow introduce air into there, and they're fine. When the ignition is off, I touch the gas pedal and immediately get like a firm response from it. And when I turn the truck on, or the brake pedal rather, when I push the brake pedal, it just sinks straight to the floor. It's real spongy.
Go ahead, Russ.
Only did one caliper, right, in the rear?
Correct.
Is it a caliper over drum? Does it have a brake drum for the parking brake, or was that one just the caliper?
Yeah, it's the parking brake drum thing.
Okay, so it's got a drum brake for parking brakes, and then it's got a caliper by itself with no parking brake cable on the caliper, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good. Just double checking on that because we just did one for producer Doug here on his van that had the parking brake in the caliper, which makes it completely different. So if you don't have any brake pressure after that, I'm thinking that if it was only one caliper you did, it's got to have air in that line somewhere.
Because the brakes worked good before you took on this bearing replacement, correct?
Correct. And I didn't I didn't disconnect the brake line at all. Like the system was closed through the whole.
You just tied the
whole
caliper
job.
up.
Oh, okay. You didn't take the caliper off.
No, he probably just pulled that because that's a center section type rear end where the axles come out the sides.
If you didn't have to take the caliper off, then I would take a close look at it, make sure that the brake pads are on there, on the right side, the correct side back there, that the caliper slides are moving freely, because if they stick, when those caliper slides stick on a vehicle, we've had a few of them come in and they'll push the pedal down once, it'll go to the floor, but if you pump it up 3 or 4 times, it's fine, and it'll build pressure and then it'll work, but then when you let off for a few seconds, it's back down to the floor again because that thing's sliding. It's got to take up slack. The pads back there should be just resting on the rotor on both sides of it. So if there was anything, if it had a backing plate or something that came out of it, something could have came apart. But I'm thinking if you pull that wheel and you look down in there, you're going to see that those brake pads aren't completely touching the rotor back there when it's at rest. That's where we'd start to make sure that it's not having to take that up, because it doesn't take much at all. Like 1/8 of an inch, and that thing will go right to the floor.
And that you've got to look where you were. You've got to look where your mechanics tracks
Yeah.
were last at, because if that was working good and now you've taken it apart, you know that too. I'm saying something obvious here, but you just got to go back and look at where you were. And the fact that you never opened the system up,
Don't forget the air in the line. I was going to say that you either have to be air in the line or you've got something stuck in that proportioning, but you don't have.
I flushed almost a full bottle of brake fluid through it just
to see,
because that's what I figured, is I somehow put air in the system, so I hooked a bleeder up to it and just flushed almost a full bottle of brake fluid through it.
Did you use a mechanical method of doing that, or did you use the ABS pump to help bleed it?
I hooked up my brake bleeder, cracked the bleeder line, and then just pumped the brake, filled up the reservoir, pumped the brake, filled up the reservoir, so on and so forth.
But this was so. You had it up on the jack stands. You take the caliper off. The brakes had been working fine. You put the caliper back on without bleeding it, and now the pedal's on the floor, right?
Correct.
The only other thing I can think of is if that brake hose got damaged back there by bending it. Sometimes you got to if it collapses inside.
Yeah, I looked it over. I couldn't see any obvious signs of damage to it.
Yeah, this would be inside. It could collapse.
But that would more than likely stop the pressure from returning back, and it would hold the caliper stuck more so than give you a.
It would have caused an issue in pedal feel to begin with, but then once he opened it up and tried to bleed it, it could have caused a bigger issue, introduced more by having that one brake hose broken down inside.
And he could push through it when he was bleeding it.
That stuff can be tricky sometimes, trying to narrow it down. But we always start with looking at the caliper, make sure the pads are making full contact back there with that brake. Pump up the brake pedal a couple times and see if both the back brakes lock up like they should, or if just the left side does because you've got the right side off. Then at least you can verify that one side.
Is there any chance that somebody got in there and pushed the pedal while it was apart?
Open or something?
Did a kid get in there and play car and push on the brakes while it was apart?
No.
Because like Russ has talked about on the show before too, and it's been a long time since I did any of this stuff, but if you have a no pedal and you can't figure it out, you almost end up starting with your first point, which is the master cylinder, and put a block-off plug in there.
See if you got pressure.
And see if you got pressure at the master cylinder. Then go down to your next point, which would be ABS point, and see if you got pressure there, and kind of work your way into the system to see if maybe just for some reason the master cylinder failed or got pushed out too far during this process. Something crazy has happened, unless we're just totally not thinking of something. That there's something crazy has happened, and that's why you're calling us, because something crazy did happen. You can't figure it out. What part of Wisconsin are you from?
Appleton.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for calling us. Did you have any follow-up there? Because I don't know that this one is going to probably require some hands-on checking.
Yeah. So you guys don't think it has anything to do with that wheel speed sensor?
No, it shouldn't. If your vehicle is parked, if you're stopped and you're stepping on it and you have no brakes, no. But if it only occurs while you're moving, it could definitely be that, because it could be turning on the ABS system.
Okay.
Just to verify that, you could pull the fuse. If the ABS, you think it's running, you could pull the fuse out of the ABS. The light will come on, say ABS, and it'll disable the system, so you could do some testing.
And you still have hydraulics. You should still have normal hydraulics, pressure.
Brad, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Yeah, it's going to be a few more steps there to try and get that thing dialed in. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Chuck. Chuck, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Morning, gentlemen. Got a question for you regarding an 03 F250 Super Duty transmission. Seems to be getting hot, and I'm not sure. Doesn't do it all the time. I got a snowplow on the front of it, and when it's under load, it seems to be overheating a little bit. Not all the time, just infrequently.
Is this a Power Stroke with a diesel in it?
Yes, 7.3, sorry.
And the trans gets hot, right? Not the engine?
Correct. The engine's fine. And I had the other day I was plowing with it, just driving around town, not actually plowing. Had it idling for 5 hours straight, and the transmission temperature never moved. Plowed a parking lot. It was fine. Plowed another parking lot, and that's when it got to the high side of that dummy gauge, whatever you call that, on the dash there. And otherwise, it shifts fine. It does everything fine. And when it's overheating, obviously, it's struggling to shift. So I guess I'm asking what I should do with that. I mean, I dropped the pan, put a new filter in, changed the fluid, and that's about as far as I've got.
Well, your overheating is either coming from one of two things then. If you're doing the same things you've always done with it, just normal plowing, and it's cold out, either the transmission is slipping, causing the overheating because it's burning the clutches in it, or it's getting hot because it doesn't have enough cooler flow. And that cooler flow can be, some people will put cardboard in front of their radiators, which doesn't sound like that's what's going on here with yours. You need that airflow even in the winter because it's got to run through that cooler. The other thing is the lines to the cooler can collapse, the rubber parts of them. So look at them, see if there's any soft spots in them that are collapsing.
He's got to make sure he's got good flow. They're going to have to do a flow test to make sure you get enough capacity through there. If it's not the tranny, it's a flow issue or a cooler issue, and you need to address that with additional cooling or make sure the flow is good.
We take the return line off coming back to the trans at a transmission shop or at a service center, and we see if we've got verify the correct flow. But I would have that checked right away before transmission damage is done, just in case your trans is okay.
Chuck, thanks very much for the call. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150 from the Autotempest.com studios. All the cars, one search. This is the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the bell while you're there, too. That would be great.
Ding!
And if you join the Hoodie fan club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Fred Wright, who listens to us in Charlotte, North Carolina. Congratulations from everybody here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, your one source for all your automotive training needs. UTI.edu.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Dave. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Dave, what can we do for you?
Good morning. Question is primarily for, I think, probably Shannon. Glad you guys had the classic car starting the show. I have a 75 Caprice convertible that has roughly the same mileage as his Trans Am.
Oh, my. 1,900 or 2,000 miles.
2,000 miles. Actually, it had 600 on it a couple of years ago, but I wanted to use it. Anyway, the question I have is, at what point with the low mileage like that, do you say, for value-wise, use it or look at it? How much should you use it if you were to drive it $500 or 500 miles a year? Is that going to, dramatically decrease your value, there's a pleasure thing and visual thing, and the cost, right?
That was addressed yesterday in the Berkeley One class.
I'd be curious what they said, because I have my feelings about this, and I don't know if they're right.
So they were using examples of very expensive cars. So let's take the Ferrari they were looking at. And they said, now this one here did sell for $1 million less than its counterpart that hadn't been driven. We're talking about cars that are bringing like $5-6 million. But when I look at that and I say, okay, this car brought $6 million, this one brought $5 million, because the one with $5 million has 60,000 miles on it versus the other one that has 800 miles on it. For me, I want to drive. My cars I like to drive. I don't want them to just sit there and look at. That's great, but I would say if I'm an art collector and I collect fine cars, and I have the ability, if I'm been blessed with having so much money that I can have 40 Ferraris or Porsches in my barn to collect, I may have one or two that I don't drive, that are just parked to look at because they're a collection. I'm there just for money. But if I only own one or two like I do, I don't want to just look at them. I don't want them taking up space. I want to drive them. I'm probably going to limit that to keep my value up. So I think you'd probably be just fine if, let's say, you put 300 miles a year on that, 10 years. That's not very many miles. That you're really keeping it down there. I don't think you're drastically going to affect your value of this particular car by putting a few hundred miles a year on it. That's my opinion. I think, but looking at the market, wouldn't you say so, Shannon?
I think so. I'm really struggling with this myself.
Well,
because I've got my '79 Trans Am, and I'm watching the value go up on it, and I get nervous even starting it and moving it as much as the value has changed. And so I have limited the miles that I put on it. I run it enough so I get a good warm cycle on it every year. I'm changing the oil. I'm making sure and get that filter in it. And I'm looking at this car as a survivor because it's totally just like yours. It's never been doctored. It's had a battery, oil, and filter is the only thing that's ever been done to the car since it was brand new. And so I look at it as a survivor, and survivors seem to have special value compared to. Now, I have the car because I love the cars, but I do have an end game of this car of selling it. I can't see myself keeping this car and passing it on to my children.
You can't drive it.
They don't have the desire to, they don't have the interest in the car that I do. It's something that I really like. But like Russ, you hit it on the head. I have other fun cars that I can drive, so I don't have to drive that. If that was my only car, I could see myself putting a careful 300 to 500 miles on it per year and not dramatically affecting the value. But I'm kind of holding mine as a survivor right now, and I think that gives it a special value quotient to the collector. And it's going to be somebody that's going to buy it and probably not drive it either.
Well, and with Dave's car, I mean, the difference between 600 and 2,000, that does make it. There's a difference there, isn't there?
It depends on how those miles are used. If it becomes a driver versus a trailer queen,
Right.
it seems like the values do change to a certain extent, and it all depends though on the overall demand of the vehicle.
Right.
A 75 Chevy convertible. I got to ask a couple questions. Is this a big block car? Probably.
No, it's sort of. It's 400 small block.
Okay, it's unique in its own right, but you get some of those cars.
It is.
Some of those cars that were, the big block cars and different things like that, and they had the right rally package inside. They can be much more desirable, and you're going to overcome some of that driving just because it's such a unique car. That body style hasn't caught all the gusto of other cars, so I think you're going to, in my opinion, you would more dramatically decrease the value just because it doesn't have as strong of an overall value yet. But my sister's told me, Vanderbrink Auctions, that she's watched in some of her sales that these big body cars in the right market are going crazy.
Yep.
To let people know, it looks like it should have horns on the front of it, right? I mean, that's the kind of car we're talking about. It looks like a big.
It does look like it should be Boss Hoss's car.
Yeah.
Yes.
If it was a caddy.
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, we just got to be careful that we don't want to say, oh, sure, just drive it. It won't be worth a whole lot, because 8 or 9 years ago we would have said to Shannon, oh, just drive that car. Have fun with it. It's not worth that much. But all of a sudden the prices go up. And even, this car here, this convertible you have, they are bringing a lot of money in certain markets. They're bringing way more than other markets.
I know my sister would tell you that, because I've asked her a lot of times too, and she's had some sales that I potentially could have brought this car to be part of her sale, and we thought about it. And then she said, Bring a Trailer is another big site that, if you really feature something like that, if you get on that website and you look what some of those vehicles are bringing, and of course you watch Barrett Jackson, you watch Mecum, you watch the different auctions that are out there, you start seeing some of the differentiation between the driver and the survivor. Yeah. And there definitely is something there to have a car that has been around that long. I mean, your car is 4 years older than mine and has 1,300 less miles. I'd have a really hard time I would have a hard time cracking 1,000 miles on that car. To me, that would be a threshold that I would try to keep it under if I was looking at the value.
And what I'm saying in Dave's case, he had 600 on it, right, Dave? And now he has 2,000 on it. So,
and the miles that I've put on it have been driving it to and from car shows.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't have a trailer. So, and they're local miles within 20 miles of my home.
Is this your original car, new, or did you get it from family, or
did you
buy it?
Brand new. Brand new. My father bought it brand new, and it sat in the garage for 42 years. That's why it only had 600 miles on it. And I when I took it over, I had it's still like yours, all original. The only thing I did was change all the fluids, and I had to put new tires on. I've got the originals because they're date coated, but they were so flat spotted that we couldn't drive them out.
Yeah, I've got my original tires on mine yet.
Otherwise,
I keep it on a hoist.
Yeah, I'm not fortunate enough to do that.
I would talk to our partners over at Berkeley One Classics. Give them a call. If you're not insured with them, ask them some questions about costs and things. But I would be more concerned with, they'll be good about being able to tell you. They'll give you a pretty good idea. If you say, hey, I got this car, what do you think? Is this one I should drive less or more? I mean, they're not in the business of valuing cars, but they do have that question, I think, set pretty good for you.
We got to finish quick here. I'm thinking it's a reddish color with a white top. What do you think, Chris?
I'm going to say it is one of those subtle colors like gold or silver.
It's white.
What is it?
Well, I had a white on white, and this particular one is tan, buckskin, light tan and white.
I'm close.
I'll take that as a win. Yeah. I'm taking that one.
You are?
Yeah.
Well, you went generic
gold.
though.
Oh, give me a break. Thanks, Dave, very much for the call. We're going to Michigan next, but first we need to take a break. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. From the Autotempest.com studios, all the cars, one search. We're going to Michigan now. Say hello to Farzad. You're on the Under the Hood Show, Farzad. What can we do for you?
Hi, good morning, gentlemen. My question is kind of a general question. Given the gas prices these days, is it worth warming up an engine in the morning at all, warm up the engine, or am I wasting fuel in exchange for a nice engine for the junkyard?
Oh, that's funny. 'Cause the other day I was walking by in our parking lot, and if you watch on the brakes, you see our parking lot out there. And one of our market development specialists, Alan Mockmiller, drives a Colorado pickup, and he was in the parking lot. He was in the building, and his truck was inside idling. And normally I don't even think about it. You know, it just hasn't been a thing. But as I was walking by, I'm like, I should really tell him to shut that off. But that was idling for a half hour probably, just as he was doing some business in the office.
Yeah, and they use a lot less fuel when they sit there and idle and they go down the road. But what year is this? What kind of vehicle is it?
I drive several vehicles. This particular one is 012 Civic, and I have an 04 Wrangler. I drive them alternatively.
Well, they're new enough that they're fully fuel injected. You should be able to start them up, and if you let them run 30 seconds, they should be warmed up enough that the computer should take over and they shouldn't die when you drive them. That's one thing you got to be concerned of. If you know the vehicle won't die when it's that cold, as long as you get it, you got to be able to see out the windshield. If you scrape the windshield when it's cold and the defroster can't keep up, you got to let the car run longer, just for safety wise. But let's say it's a 30-degree day and there has been no frost overnight, and you could start it up and take off right away without fogging up those windows. As long as you let that thing run, 30 seconds to a minute, just so the fluids move in it and actually get picked up and pumped, yeah, you're okay. Drive it easy for the first few miles, and it'll warm up as you drive and save yourself some fuel. But not warming it up at all, boy, if you could see what happens inside an engine, there's been some videos done that I've watched of somebody put a clear oil pan cover on and clear transmission fluid cover, and you start those things up cold, and you're like, boy, that fluid's not moving anywhere. And you do run the risk of some issues. I know if I take off in my Camaro when it's 100% cold on a 30-degree day, the transmission slips in 2 gears. So I let it warm up 4 or 5 minutes before I drive it, because I don't want to aggravate that situation, and it'll probably last for a long time if I do it that way. But if I take off, I bet if I took off tomorrow when it's going to be 10 degrees,
you could probably break it if you tried.
And I floored it when it was that cold, I'd probably burn something up in it or cause more damage when it was warmer down the road.
So to answer your question, most of the modern vehicles with
an 04 would fit in there.
Yeah, if it's fuel injected there, you give it a minute or two, you're fine, even though it's not as comfortable, and you're going to be colder. And Russ hits a very solid point, because if that thermostat doesn't start, if that temperature gauge doesn't start moving, you're not going to defrost your windows. I mean, you're going to scrape them off, but they're going to frost back up again. So that's a safety reason why you need to get that.
And does it go?
Warmed up.
Will that temperature will go up to some degree faster if it's moving than if it's idling?
Chris, if I set you out in the parking lot right now today at this temperature with a light windbreaker and tell you to walk from here to the corner, will you be warmer if you walk to the corner or if you run to the corner? See, that's exactly the way your car works. If you put a light load on it and you go to the corner, it's going to warm up faster than if it's just sitting there doing nothing, because there's no load on it. It's trying to keep that engine as humble as it can be. As
the
it
corner
sits
of
there.
That's too. I would get a ride.
Up
the
there.
corner. Yeah, I wouldn't.
It's a big parking lot.
Yeah,
can't
it's
run
far. You all the way up to where the road comes in. Oh yeah, I'm gonna catch
You're like,
a ride
I don't
there.
want to walk to the bottom floor of this building.
Does that help you out there, Farzad?
Yes, very much. You made it very clear. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for the call. I have found that, and this is just strictly comfort, and I'm not kidding. I have found that the heated seats have done just as much for me as a remote start. I used to have the remote start, and it would warm up the car, of course. That was great. And now getting in, I don't miss the remote start because I have heated seats, and in 30 seconds I'm starting to feel warm, and it's fine.
Great fuel saving tip. I got the little heated Milwaukee coat. I turn that on before I walk out of the house, and it starts warming up. Then I turn the seat heaters on, and you can leave a lot faster than trying to heat that car up.
And you are as soft as it gets when it comes to the cold.
I can't. No,
yeah,
I don't like
he's.
I'm sitting in here with my Under Armour and a hoodie and another shirt just because
That
it's
is one
cold.
case where for sure you are the weakest link on this team.
I
by
prefer
far.
I prefer those 100-degree days. People are like, it's so hot. I'm like, it's perfect.
866-594-4150. Let's go to California and talk to Zach. You're on the Under the Hood show. Zach, what can we do for you?
So I have a '07 LBZ Duramax, and out here in California, diesel's almost $7 a gallon, and it's ridiculous. And most diesels B20 biodiesel, and my truck doesn't like biodiesel that much because I get lower gas mileage. But driving past 76 stations and a couple other here and there shows renewable 99 diesel. What's the benefit, or is that diesel actually worth putting in, or just stick with a B20?
Well, it depends on your vehicle, because there are some that you get the new ones with the particulate filters and things, and they are not real friendly towards certain blends of getting up there close to 100% biodiesel. I can run that in my truck. I can run it in the tractors. It's perfect, but it just depends on how it's blended. It's much different than cars. A lot of like the Ford trucks, they're designed. They say right on them B20, right on the fender. That's how they're designed to run.
They've engineered it that way.
Yeah, it's designed to run that way, optimized. But when you get in these trucks that are needing to run, if they've been deleted, that's a whole nother thing. But if you're living in California, unless you've done like thousands of people and had your truck registered in South Dakota, even though you live in California, yeah, you're still stuck with your emissions laws, and that's legal, folks. I don't know how, but they're doing it. Anyways, yeah.
Maybe I could offer that as a service.
What's that?
Where I'll take your mail and you can register.
No.
and
You don't have to live here.
No, I know. Shh. I have a business idea. Quiet.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna handle. I'll rent out my mailbox.
Yeah. So, Chris. Anyways, yeah. So if you've got the trucks that are deleted, people are running that stuff in there all the time. But as far as I'm not suggesting that for a truck that's still got all your particulate filters and EGR and CAT.
It only it's an '07, so it only has the EGR in it. But just
So is it an early? I'm doing LBZ. I get my coding now.
Must
It's
be an early 07.
Early 07, classic body style.
It's a classic cat.
Yeah, so he's still got the older system.
Well, if you still got the older system without a particulate filter in it, and the CAT, you're just running straight. You should be able to run a higher blend. Look at the forums and see what kind of luck people have been having.
Zach, what's the difference right now between the two?
Price wise.
A lot.
Price wise.
I bet it's $5.
No.
It's not $5 right now.
30 cents.
Oh, that's it?
Diesel's almost B20 diesel, which is what California has out here. It's almost $7 a gallon average, and renewable 99 is like 20 cents cheaper. So.
Ooh, they must be taxing the heck out of you out there on that then, because here there's a bigger spread.
Yeah, for 20 cents a gallon difference across my fuel economy and my trip, I know it's money, but if that vehicle hasn't ran it before, that's a big blend to go to.
Yep. But when you get into these older ones, which there's a lot of them out there that are open, like my truck, we had it here for a while, but because of the really cold temperatures, they stayed away from it because of issues with it, basically gelling up the bio in it. But yeah, I love that stuff. Smelled like French fries and it ran great.
Zach, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Nebraska and talk to Richard. You're on the End of the Hood show. Richard, what can we do for you?
Well, got a 2009 Nissan Titan. For some weird reason, it just honks when I turn far to the right. Kind of weird.
We got an easy fix for that.
When you're driving straight ahead, it won't honk.
It's exciting. It's excited.
It's warning people around the corners that you're coming. Here I am.
Yep. He's veering too far to the right.
Yeah,
Clock spring has failed in your steering column.
There's a coiled up conductor in there that keeps the connectivity to the steering wheel for anything that's out there, and mainly, number
Moving
one,
stuff.
the airbag. And so they have to have a coiled up conductor of electrical. You could equivalent it to like a fish tape that you would use, kind of a flat bladed fish tape or something like that. That's in a like a plastic holder, but it's got conductor on it. And so as you turn, that can keep the voltage going for the airbag. Sometimes steering wheel controls, radio controls, cruise control, the different things that are outboard on the steering wheel nowadays. Paddle shifters on some cars. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that runs through that connection. And so when that conductor, if that's what we think is going on, gets a problem in it, it could be sending a signal that says, all right, I've crossed these wires, which normally mean honk horn. And sometimes it could be that when you go far to the right, you hit it with your hand and you've got a horn pad in the airbag that can be a problem. But most likely it's that clock spring, they call it.
The only other thing we've seen happen on those is where you've got chafing going on and the wiring going down the steering column, and when you turn it all the way to one side, the pressure of that steering shaft stopping as it binds up when it's against the stop moves the steering column just a slight bit, and it raises it up and shorts that wire in there. So you'd want to reach under the dash right along that column and make sure that, just move the wires around gently, make sure they're not really touching anything, and then try it again and see if it goes away, or pull it to where it honks in your driveway and nobody's listening, and move the wires. If it stops, then you know it's in the wiring. That's an easy fix. You want that. You can put the little electrical tape on it, fix it right up.
Does that help you out there, Richard?
Well, I maybe I didn't explain it right, but I guess what I was trying to say is when I'm driving along and then when I go to turn right and I beep the horn, it works. See, like now it works. I turn my steering wheel far to the right. But if I turn to the left, it won't honk.
Okay, if it doesn't honk, same thing. But that would definitely not be a wire issue. If you turn it and it stops, that means you're losing the connection to the steering wheel, like Shannon said. So it needs a new airbag clock spring is what it needs.
Because it's just that's it. It's
right.
connected.
Maybe you'll get lucky and they'll do a recall. They've been doing a lot of recalls for safety on
you might
different
check.
components.
There's
there
a
may
number of
actually be
vehicles.
one.
I don't know if this one is, but you might check.
A lot of the Ram trucks have that.
If you had just that, you might not go so far as to check right away. So go ahead and look on that and see if that takes care of your problem. Richard, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. All right, that'll just about do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturtevant's. On behalf of Russ Evans, Shannon Nordstrom, I'm Chris Carter. You've been listening to the Under the Hood Show. Until next time, you can find us at underthehoodshow.com. All right, welcome to the after show. Gas? How do I save gas? Just try, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing you can do. Save gas by wanting to save gas. I still look around and I see people driving like rockets. It's like,
well, maybe they got their turbo fixed and they don't judge.
I take a road that is a kind of like an internal city interstate bypass thing when I'm coming to the show. And it's about 5 miles. So as I'm coming down this new highway we have.
You mean 229?
No.
Okay.
The 4-lane there, the Highway 100.
Okay.
So I'm coming down SD 100, and there's traffic lights like once a mile on there or so. I'm driving along, and I've got the cruise set at 55. Speed limit's 55. Not that I don't want to go faster or slower or whatever, but let's just say I'm going 55. This morning as I'm going 55 in this truck, car behind me has to pass me. It's flashing its lights, and I'm going too slow. I'm not in the left 2 lanes, but I'm in the first one from the right. So I'm not all the way to the right, but we're in the city limits, so it doesn't matter what lane you're in. You can drive the speed limit. You're fine. You don't have to be over to the right if it's slower. So I'm going along. Car comes flying around me, and they just look at me. 2 more cars following along right behind them. They're going about 60, 65, so they're pretty far over. I look up ahead. Light turns red. The cars stop.
You all stop at the red light?
No.
Oh.
I've got the cruise set on 55. I'm still in that second lane. There's nobody in front of me. So I look both ways, which you can see very clearly to both sides. There's no cars coming. The sun's just starting to come up. So I'm like, I can just go right on through. I don't have to slow down and stop, even though it just turned green 2 seconds ago. And I go by him. I didn't touch the brakes. Didn't touch the accelerator. I'm maintaining good fuel economy. Just high gear in this diesel. Here I go. And these cars, here they come flying to catch up with me. Passing me again, probably doing 60, 65. I get up to the next light. Light turns red. They all stop.
I've been the car that's jackrabbited, and then I sit next to the person that just kept driving.
I move to the next lane. I blow by them because I'm already doing 55, and they're stopped. They catch up to me again. The guy just looks at me like I'm doing something wrong. I get to the next light, and I almost made that one too. But I'm thinking,
it's the weirdest humble brag I've ever heard.
I do that on purpose when I can. If I see a light turn red and somebody has passed me like that when I'm going slower than them, I'll slow down a little bit and then speed up as I get closer to the light when I see it's going to turn green.
See if you can time it just perfectly.
Just so I can pass them and annoy them. But really, Chris, you're right. You drive like you want to get fuel economy. If you have a tuner on your dash, there's lots of companies that make them. We've got one on ours that beeps when you accelerate too hard or if you decelerate too hard. Because if you're coming up to a traffic light at 55 and you hammer on the brakes to stop,
it'll let you know.
Well, you stop. Why did you stop so fast? You got to take off again. If you would have coasted, you may not have reached the traffic light before it turned green to go. You don't have to drive like that. But if you want to save fuel, that's a fuel saving tip.
Big time.
What are some other ones, Shannon?
Just keep your vehicle, even though the speed limit might be, I can't say this out loud though because I don't do this.
There is a 3 mile per gallon difference in that Camaro from going 55 to going 80. The speed limit's 80 on our interstate. If I'm driving that fast, I look at the instant, and it's that much because things change.
There's a big difference in the engineered
wind resistance,
burn pattern
horsepower, all of
it. On a lot of vehicles between 65 miles an hour and 80 miles an hour or 85 miles an hour if that's what traffic is flowing. So for some people, that's why when you see semis going down the road, fleets limit the speed of semis in a lot of fleets
60.
To a certain speed because they've figured out that they can save across a fleet of 500 semis 0.7 miles per gallon. It's huge.
It's like they should pass a law of 55 miles an hour nationwide.
Didn't that come into effect during?
Yeah, during
it did. That
OPEC. Fuel economy stuff.
Gas embargo. And
55 saves gas. I remember the sign.
Saves lives, they said too, but.
So slow now. That just takes forever to get where you're going. But it does your fuel economy really.
I think the biggest save, though, is just not jackrabbit starting, driving with a smooth throttle, keeping consistent with your drive.
Tire pressure is huge.
Tire pressure makes a big deal.
That's like number 2. It will pull your car down with low tires.
If you have more than one vehicle, taking the other one. And
especially if you don't put gas in it yourself.
Well, and I just remember when gas prices got like this, you start to plan even like where I live, going into town. We live a mile from. We live in town, but it's a mile into town. You just go once. You don't run to the post office and then come home and then. I do because I like to get out in my car and drive around in it. But when you start to pay attention to that helps too. If you just don't run over there, you wait until later when you know you're going to go.
For sure. We just we pray for all those people in Ukraine. It's just such a mess over there right now, what's happening. And we just feel for a lot of our friends and friends of friends that are there. Just keep praying them up. It's what we can do. And it'd be interesting to see what happens as this time unfolds. But in the meantime, it's causing such disruption it's not just fuel. You look at wheat and you look at the economies of the neighboring countries around there that are close by and how it's affecting them. This is going to be another shockwave on the world scene, similar or maybe worse than in some situations than COVID. So we're going to have to brace up again here for a while.
Yeah, we went down with one thing, and now we've just it was like almost overnight they declared, oh, COVID's over. Oh, by the way, there's a war now, so this is the new thing. So I just told Chris this morning, I said, well, what's next? In 2 years, are we going to say, oh, well, now we've got the new thing?
Don't forget, you guys are glossing over. You're forgetting that for the last year and a half, 2 years, they've been telling us, we've seen spaceships. Yeah, there's things out there. There's meteorites coming.
That's
I'm telling you,
hilarious.
it's all they're softening us up.
That's what they're doing, Chris.
Yeah. Oh
but,
yeah.
But right now, with the way the news is, you could land a spaceship in Times Square, and they'd be like, "Hey, we're here. You've been looking for us for years. Look, we are right here.
Yeah.
You want to take a selfie? No, we want to talk about gas prices.
Oh yeah, they
We
might
wanna
just
complain.
leave. They're gonna go. Yeah, we don't want it anymore.
You know what? Mechanics sometimes get a bad rap. You don't want to go to a dentist, right? It's painful. You don't want to go to a mechanic because mechanics screw you. You've heard that saying before? I tell you what. What's the difference? Somebody asked me, well, there's no difference between a mechanic and a politician. It's like, you know what? There is. If I promised somebody for 4 years I'd fix their car and took their money to do it, I would have to fix it.
You know, we do have another problem coming. I don't know if you saw it or not. No.
What's that?
Space spiders.
Joro spider.
A what?
The Joro spider.
What's that?
You haven't
Is
heard
that
this
anything
yet?
like that killer wasp or the angry bee? Or...
It's fine though, right? It's
So.
just scary
I
looking.
well, they said COVID would be okay in the beginning too.
Yeah, good point.
I don't want spiders.
If you haven't met the
don't.
colorful, massive Joro spider yet, you may soon be introduced to this invasive species if you live on the East Coast.
I don't want to
The
hear.
predominantly yellow spider, which can get as big as the palm of your hand, was first spotted in Georgia in 2013, originating from Asia. There is no clear answer of how it made it to the United States. Then it likely came in shipping containers.
On a
but nearly
boat.
10
Bananas.
years. Yeah, this thing is.
But it took 2 years to get here because the shipping was delayed.
But suddenly they're talking about this.
I don't think I've ever made Chris laugh on the
That's
show.
funny. That's good. That's good.
It would have arrived here before COVID, but
But I think these things can like do an amazing jump or something like that. I'm just trying to find.
I don't want to hear what they can do. I just know
You
they
got
don't.
spider
my daughter and
knowledge.
son-in-law own a pet store because they got exotic pets out there in Washington there in West Coast Chameleon. So I should ask them about that. There's a picture of my grandson that's got you used to remember that, Chris, with the giant tarantula that's crawling all over him. Then it got lost.
Yeah, I didn't look at it. I deleted it from everywhere.
It's like, it's my pet spider. I'm like, no. Freaky. Scary.
I was trying to get to the end of this article and see if they kill you or if they're just scared the shit
No, they're
heck
fine.
out of you.
They
Why
don't
does
do
it have to
anything.
be snakes?
I don't think they do anything.
It says there's no reason to go around actively squishing them. Yeah, okay, they're scary.
Don't squish a spider.
Shoot them with a BB gun.
No,
Humans
you
are
pick
the
them
root
up
of
and
their
set them
invasion.
outside.
Don't blame the spider. Who wrote this? Somebody
That's
that likes
dumb.
spiders? Oh, boy, I'm on USA Today's page here. They look like they could eat a lot of mosquitoes and stuff. That's probably all right.
You know, when I found out wasps were
They-
actually helpful because
they
they help
don't.
pollinate crops and stuff like that, because the bees are disappearing and things with all the spray and stuff. I used to like get the bug spray out and shoot all the wasps I could that were near the deck, but now I'm like, you know what? When was the last time that they really just came to attack me? Unless there's a nest like right there where I'm sitting in a chair, I just let them go because that's what keeps our food
Okay, here's the
going.
comforting paragraph out of the entire article.
Okay.
Comforting? Nothing's comforting
This is
about
the
a spider.
comforting paragraph, and tell me if you're comforted after you hear
Okay.
this. The size of the spider may frighten people, but experts say they shouldn't worry. They are venomous, but they don't bite humans unless they're cornered. Plus, their fangs don't penetrate human skin.
Yeah.
Is that comforting?
A little bit. Little bit.
But that they are venomous, but they don't harm humans unless they're
Unless
cornered.
they can't.
It doesn't help me.
But how could they
Why
harm you
would
if their
a-
fangs won't penetrate your
Sounds
skin?
like our Pomeranian.
Yeah. He's just chewing there like the cartoon hanging on your arm.
Although I will say it is the opposite if they will bite you unprovoked. If it, of course they won't attack you unless they're cornered, but if they did,
If
they
that is
just,
in my car, it's going to kill me because I'm going to crash trying to kill it.
if the end of that article said, "Hey, just so you know, they hide behind things and jump out to get you," that would be a less comforting.
Yes, it would.
There's someone in my family who had a spider come down from like behind the visor, going down one of our main roads here in
Yeah.
town, and she stopped the car, left it in drive, and jumped out and screamed. And I thought, huh.
Left it in drive.
Yeah, it didn't go anywhere. We were stopped, but it was still in gear. I was like,
Someone
what?
in
Hang
his
on.
family,
What are you doing?
I think.
I'm not
Someone
in my
just got
family.
pointed out.
I'm not going to
He
mention
doesn't
it.
ride with
Yeah,
a lot
you're-
of people.
You're safe, Russ. No one
But
could figure that out.
she will admit it. I'm like, you can't stop. Just smash that thing. It might bite me. No. Does not like spiders.
That list
Was
is
chased
very
by a
small.
spider as a child, so she doesn't like it.
We love you.
Wasn't my grandson or anyone in
Whoever
that
that is.
family. They sleep with those things. It's like, can I sleep
Starts
with a
with an
spider
M.
tonight?
All right, we're on. We've went to spiders now. I think
That's probably enough.
Yeah.
Well, the question was, what's next?
Right. Yeah. Good point.
We don't want to bet on it because it'll come up. I think we've got some bets
what if
that
we're
we've made
right?
on the show years ago that
Should've
we said,
kept track of 'em.
Gas should be this by that way.
Oh, I got a new $1 million idea too, and this one's such a good idea.
Electric car.
I'm
I do have a
not going to
question.
give it on air. That's how good this
No, I have
idea
a
is.
question.
Okay.
My daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, asked me this other morning, and of course she's been brainwashed by TikTok like every other child.
Is that Chris's real hair?
And no, she didn't ask that.
It's cheap.
No, their question that's going around TikTok, all these people are trying to figure out, maybe you've heard it, I'm not a TikToker, but are there more doors or wheels in the world?
Oh, good question. Wheels by $1 billion.
Well, yes, you're right. I would say that
me
because
think
if we
about it.
consider
Stop.
all doors,
I said that
Okay.
right away too,
Wait
but
a
then
sec.
stop and think
Yeah,
about it.
Yeah, hold on. Let me count. I'm gonna
doors
count
on houses, doors on
Doors, hold
cars,
on.
but conveyor belts
Hold on.
have wheels. Shopping carts have wheels.
Cupboard doors,
Oh.
locker doors,
What about
every car that has wheels has doors.
an equal amount, probably?
Similar. I'm not
Yeah.
making an argument here.
No,
but
you're
Well,
right.
The more you
some
think
of those
about it,
early Model Ts.
go to
No,
a
no,
skyscraper. Is there more wheels or doors?
Right, but there's how many skyscrapers are there versus the millions of cars? I mean, you're
Well,
right.
does that
You're right.
skyscraper have an elevator with like 350?
Do you know what my
wheels
daughter
and-
said? She goes, you know what they got? If
Yeah,
it's a
that's-
skyscraper, it's a business office. They got lots of chairs, and all the chairs have wheels on them. So the chairs, the wheels
Four
on the
per chair?
chairs probably outdo the doors at
I
that
wish
point.
you had not. I wish you had not brought this up.
I was going to bring it up during the show, and I totally forgot about it. But I'm leaving in the house, and she goes, Dad, I got a question for you. She goes, you probably don't have time for it right now. And we're both leaving the
I'm
house.
going. I'm gonna go back to my original answer and say it's wheels by $1 billion.
But how will we ever know? Who's going to count them?
Give it long enough, the government will sanction
You-
a plan to do
You
it.
answered it. You answered it.
I'm the official door counter.
in
you
this
have too
room-
many wheels. You must have 2 more doors.
In this room,
Oh, there you go.
There's 20. Oh man, 30
5.
30 some wheels. There's one door.
15, 20.
There's cupboard doors.
Oh, these are drawers. Does that count? They have wheels.
They have wheels on the drawers.
Yeah, there's
Ava,
more.
Ava brought that up too.
Oh,
I just counted 27 wheels in
It's
this
wheels.
studio, right
it's
here
wheels.
in this room.
3 there. No, that
Yep.
yeah, 20. Yeah, there-
27 with those.
It's wheels by $1 million.
It's Larry David, the wheel. I don't think so.
we want Shannon to come back and report next week. We want him to go around and count all the wheels
I'm not
and
doing
all
it.
the doors.
Here's
I'm
a
not
question.
doing it.
Here's a
He's going to
question.
be like Larry Bird on Cheers.
Here's a question.
Remember he started counting the parquet floor, the floor?
Yeah.
And he
I think I did see that
blew the
episode.
game because I saw that episode
Here's
so
a
many
question
times.
we can answer,
What's that?
and that you might have to make a call to do it. In your inventory, more wheels or doors? Straight under that heading on the inventory.
Wheels.
Wheels.
It's got to be wheels.
No.
Yeah, it's wheels. It's
Yeah.
wheels.
Can I go on? Can I look you up by vendor on Car Dash Part and just see how many doors you have?
Well, the actual part type wheel, no, there's more doors than there is the part type wheel.
Right, but I mean in
In
stock.
my inventory, there would be more part type door than wheel. Now, if we actually talk about the wheels in the parts, I think wheels takes the lead again. Just
Okay.
like-
So you have more doors stacked
Yeah, I
back
do.
there than wheels. Okay.
well, just on cars in general.
Oh no,
I only get 5 wheels from a car.
But I mean,
Spare.
if
and
I
4.
wanted to go out, I brought a semi right now, and I want to buy all your doors
Please do.
and all your wheels. Which one's going to be more? You're going to stack them in my truck. Which one's going to be more? Not attached to anything, just wheels and doors.
Do they have to be good?
Nope. But they're. I'm saying
Is a trunk lid a door?
I'm saying that you no.
No, but
I'm
a rear
saying,
hatch is the door.
I'm saying that you
Is
have
a tailgate a door?
Yeah.
Nope.
If it's a hatch.
No, it's a door.
Well,
Is
then
it-
I always get 5 wheels per car, and I don't always get 5 doors.
okay. So
If I
wheels.
count the wrecked ones, and yes, some of the new cars don't have spares, so I could start losing
What
some
about-
average there. But
what
I have
about-
2-door cars, I have 3-door cars.
Hold on. What about alone as a single part hanging in a place where I could go grab a door right now and carry it to my car
I have
or
way
a wheel.
more wheels loose in inventory than
Okay.
doors.
All right.
Autotempest.com. More wheels or more doors?
Wheels by a million.
Russ, you need
I'm
to make
standing by it.
Russ, you need to make a short out of this and maybe put it on TikTok.
I'm
Because this is where it came
Yeah.
from. It's a TikTok thing that's going around.
I could short the TikTok part,
This
and
is
I
it.
could also short the YouTube part. This is crazy.
All right,
I'm going with wheels by a billion.
talking about the world.
Yep. Yeah.
And I would think if you get into a less developed country, the wheel takes over. Because
Yeah.
they've rolled things, but they may not have enclosed them yet.
I'm just thinking we need to do this show 5 days a week, like a lot of listeners are asking for, and we need to answer car questions, like for 15 minutes out of each hour,
And then do
for an 8-hour day, and then the
rhetorical
rest of it.
questions.
Yeah, we could easily make this into a 4-hour show.
All right.
All we need
There
is
we
about
go.
8 million more listeners, and we're on board.
Comment below. Do you think there's more doors or more wheels on our YouTube channel? Comment below. More
Hubcaps.
doors,
Hubcaps.
more wheels. I don't have any of those left, so I'd say none. I'd say there's fewer of those. All right. See you guys later. Thanks very much.